All righty. Welcome again, a LinkedIn audience. I appreciate you spending some time with me, Mitch Benson, the franchise development manager for A Place at Home. And I am joined by president and co-founder of A Place at Home, Jerod Evanich. What's up, Jerod? How you doing today?
Hello, Mitch. Great to be here. I am looking forward to having this conversation about how to find the right fit when you're going to be looking at buying or investing into a franchise.
Absolutely. And oddly enough, it's a short one today. A Place at Home is your right fit. Follow us here on LinkedIn.
I'm out.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Nope. Have a great lunch. We just saved everybody a lot of time, and that's what we're really here for, is making your life a little bit easier. But no, I'm excited to share this and to add some of our perspective to a pretty robust online knowledge base of helping people understand franchising and if it's the right fit for them. And that's before we get into our perspectives. I do want to share that online content is a great way to start this journey, to the point where I often say to folks, like, that step of your journey is usually the longest. It could be years of looking through videos like this, websites like ours, and other folks to really see if this is something you want to act on, right? And in that stack of digital information is going to be this here little golden nugget from your friends at A Place at Home, talking a little bit about this fit and how to find it, right? And Jerod, we were just talking a little bit about this. I kind of want to organize the content here in maybe 2 or even 3 big themes for all of our listeners on the call today. And first off, the themes here are like, how do we actually start the process of finding the right fit, right? What's the starter like? What's the first thing we got to do, right? And maybe once we have some of that information, how do we get more of it? How do we deal with that information? And finally, like, what does a fit mean? How will I know that I have the right fit between me and a franchise system? That's kind of where we're going to go here so far. Sound all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great.
Well, all right. Well, Jerod, I want to pick your brain here a little bit. Not only from your experience as an entrepreneur, continue to be that, but you started this journey. There was a day one for you, like many of our listeners today, and you needed to kind of start with assessing your goals. Right? That's the big thing. Yeah. That's how we find the right fit.
Absolutely.
Right? What do you have to say about that?
It comes to a lot of different entrepreneurs at different times in their life.
Yeah.
It's a time in which, Mitch, do I still have you there?
Everything went
black.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh no.
So, sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but it looks like we're still rolling. So very good. All right. But yeah. So yes, assessing your goals. What does the end goal look like, and ultimately, how is it going to align with your passion, your know-how, your willingness and ability to invest time into the business, and ultimately, when you put all those together, can you accomplish that goal? And honestly, Mitch, I do want to take just one little step backwards, because a lot of times when people are like, hey, I really want to start a business, right? So it's like, before we even think about starting the right franchise, you got to get in the right mindset of saying, yes, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to start a business. And then you say to yourself, okay, there's a lot of different businesses that I could start. I could start it from the ground up. I could do everything myself and roll up my sleeves and spend the next couple of years figuring it out and launching my own company. But then what we're talking about today is that you have gone through that thought process. You've looked at your goals and you say to yourself, you know what, maybe I want a game plan. Maybe I want something that's already laid out, tried and true, and something in which other people have done and are successful in as we speak. And that kind of steers them towards franchise ownership, right? Having that playbook at your side. And again, a track record of success that helps you to realize that maybe these goals may be not only attainable, but even in a more timely, easier path than doing it yourself. Right. So now you've assessed those things. You've assessed, how much time, as I had mentioned, you're willing to put into it. What is the driving factors behind the business? What are the things that you're going to enjoy? And maybe even doing a little self-reflection and saying, well, what am I good at? Where am I going to fit into this business? right? So those are kind of the first considerations I would say to really look at when assessing your goals.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. There's so much time you can spend on deciding, franchising. Is that the thing we need to do, right? And then you get to this kind of space too, right? And I really love what you mentioned here about talking kind of about the passion of the business, what drives you, what drives your franchisor. Um, and it's really part of how you are going to set yourself apart when talking to your eventual customers, the employees that are going to work for you, is a personal experience perhaps with what the business does, whether this be an education-based franchise and you have a really strong tie to how that benefited your kids and your family, you share that goal, that kind of thing, right? Um, you know, uh, but I want to hear a little bit more too about kind of like, what am I good at, right? That aspect to it, your know-how skills, right? Uh, this I think is going to help us inform the what does a good fit really decide like, right? Is there like a couple big areas of your own skill that we can like use this introspection to help with, right? Maybe you're a salesperson, like what does that mean? Or maybe you are the, kind of the chess master in the background on operations. Are those some like good things we should think about when deciding, what are we good at?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So usually when we're speaking with people, in our development process, we're kind of putting them in one of two buckets. Here, you're going to be kind of that more sales, outward, going out, developing relationships, letting the world know who you are, what your business is doing, forward facing to the clients. If that is something you have done in the past, if that's something that you're good at, you enjoy, you like talking, you want to be in front of people, you like sharing your knowledge and really being that face of the business, then awesome. That is the bucket we would want to put you in and steer you towards. Now, maybe you're a little bit more introverted. Maybe you have been in operations for a vast majority of your life. You are great at looking at the overall plan and the processes and putting things together to make sure that you're going to end with a success. Maybe you're a little bit more operationally focused. Whichever bucket you're in, and don't get me wrong, as a new business owner, you're going to be doing a little bit of both, right? And wearing multiple hats. And usually when we're talking to somebody more operationally focused, we say, hey, if you really are aligned with your passion in this business and you believe in the product or service that you're selling, would you feel comfortable telling that to other people? Like, well yeah, I would. Like, okay, well then it's not sales. This isn't salesy. We're not pawning something off on somebody that they don't want. If we believe it, we know it's gonna, be a quality service. It kind of takes that sales aspect out of that role anyways. But either way, it's about finding which of those you want to succeed at, which of those you want to spend your time at, what do you feel you're the best at, and then as you continue into business ownership, going to fill the gaps in the areas that maybe aren't your biggest or best skill sets. And also even outside of whether it's more sales or marketing or more operational, we need to be able to also consider our ability to manage people and a team.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're like, you know what, I really want to have a business with as few of people as possible, that's going to really dictate what type of business you're going to be having. More than likely not a service related business in that regard. Whereas if you've had a lot of success in managing people, managing teams, whether that be sales or operationally, that's going to definitely put you a step further in a service related business, or one that requires more people, right, to ultimately run that company.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's such a huge piece of it. And I hope that, everybody listening today can kind of take that away, is the business I'm interested in. Can I understand it? Can I understand the core reason it's successful? And that in our industry is the appropriate management of people, right? That's it, amongst other things, but that's a primary way that your business will be successful. And if that is part of your goal, if it's been your experience before, if you've seen yourself successful in that way, then this industry becomes much more feasible for you, right? And knowing that about yourself is ultimately going to just save you time in this buying journey, right? You know that lone wolf opportunities or very passive things with very hands-off approaches, could be in your skill set, you could do that, but you're not going to be rewarded or fulfilled in that kind of role, right? Um, but it's not everything to think of, not just your personal capital, your time investment. We need to couple this with a consideration of your financial positioning as well, right? Is it reasonable to think, I could buy a chain of hotels? Not today, maybe in the future, but it's something to get real with yourself about. So is like, maybe I'm doing this, I'm thinking about this business or something like that. What do I need to consider from the financial world about how to find the right fit of a franchise?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it has to start with your own assessment of yourself, your family, your assets. What kind of income you have in. Is it a dual income family? What kind of investments that you may have that could help to offset some of that initial investment. And so a personal financial statement, really. And they're very easy to find. You can find a personal financial statement that you would have to actually fill out, of course. Even in Excel, there'll be templates that you can fill out. And you go to any bank asking for a loan, they're going to say, all right, fill out this personal financial statement first. So it's not too hard to find those, but it's a good checks and balances to saying, okay, this is what I have. These are the assets. This is how much cash that I have that's liquid. These are the liabilities that I have. And when you combine the two, are we going to be able to have enough to where a bank would say, okay, I feel comfortable in lending you money, or perhaps your financials are such to where you could self-finance the business, which could be a personal preference, and some people most certainly do. But that was where I would start, personal financial statement.
Yeah.
All right. And now I also mentioned, though, for a brief second here, a dual income family. And why could that be important? Right? Well, when you're starting a business, you don't necessarily say, okay, I'm going to be a franchise owner and I'm going to sign that franchise agreement, and the next day you're generating revenue. It takes time. You have to actually go through the launch process, the starting process, open the doors to the business, right? And actually then move forward in driving that revenue. And that can look very different depending on the different businesses that you may be interested in. So stepping away from that income and that paycheck that you're receiving now, and having the expectation of, well, okay, I'm going to buy this into this franchise system. I'm going to start generating that revenue and start being able to replace my paycheck tomorrow, right? May not be realistic. It's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. There's an element of really kind of reducing that unknown risk to a manageable spot too. Like, how long could I go with only relying on the dual income part of my household, right? You can't always, get this down to an exact number or something that mitigates risk entirely, but you can, get to a point where you can make some bets on that, as you should, and it will, again, kind of help you match that realistic expectation you have of yourself, what your family needs to be successful, with what the franchisor could be sharing with you, right? And all of that information gets you to a point where you're kind of, you have built an introspective report of what looks like a good fit for you, right? But a fit needs at least two parts. We need to find that information from the franchisor to start building out what they're looking for, who they know how to support, and that kind of thing, right? And I'm wondering too, if we're ready to embark on this world, right, and go start getting information from franchisors. Do you have any suggestions for us on how to start? Any places we ought to look first to get information from franchisors?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so we've discussed, we've talked about first looking within ourselves and our skill sets, our passions, all of that know-how. We've looked at our finances. We know roughly how much we can spend on a business, how much income we have coming in to help support our family while we're launching the business. And those are all going to really help to show you which type of industry and vertical and all the way down to the specific type of franchise. And now there's still going to be a really big bucket, right? And so you're saying, okay, and I've done these first things, but what's next? Right? I saw a Chick-fil-A. I heard that those are franchises. Maybe I'll just call it Chick-fil-A, my local Chick-fil-A, and ask if I can start a franchise, right? It may take a while if you just start calling every franchise in the book and asking, what kind of opportunities are out there. Although, I mean, if you got the time, feel free, but perhaps you could take a look at the IFA, International Franchise Association. This is where business partner and co-founder Dustin DeStefano and I went when we were looking at being franchisors, but also they have a plethora of information on being a franchisee and resources for you when you're in that process of looking into being a franchisee, right? So that's a great resource for you. Of course, online web searches, you type in, I want to invest in a franchise, you're going to have no shortage of paid advertisements and things popping up all the way down the line, and areas that they're going to want you to, put in your information, and then you're going to start being called by multiple companies. And that is a very, very realistic path on the journey. I would say almost 50% of the people who we have within a place at home started that very same way. They were looking somewhere a little bit, maybe even more specific. I want to start a home health franchise, and getting up to a result, getting to a portal to where they have lots of brands on there. They have basic information. You fill out more information. Those brands will then call you. You have conversations like you would with Mitch Benson about that exact opportunity. But also trade shows. Mitch and I have been to many trade shows, and we're actually going to be in September, mid to late September, going down to the MFV Expo South in Fort Lauderdale. So feel free if you're in that area to stop by and say hello. But there's going to be upwards of 150 to 200 brands, I believe, that are going to be at that trade show, and some are even larger, right? And some, a little bit more boutique. But talk about, learning by fire hose. You're going to walk in and be like, oh my goodness, look at this. We got food and hot sauces, and this is a robot, and here is home services, and hundreds of different opportunities that are going to be out there. So it gives you a really good way to be able to take all that information and all those brands and really just start deciding to yourself, okay, what is it that I want to learn more about? Going and talking to those individuals at their tables, at their booths, and getting more collateral, more information, as well as signing up to have future conversations with them. And then also, I had mentioned about half of the people within our system found us either online and all the way into our website, or perhaps onto a lead generation type portal to where they're being called by multiple people. But then the other half came from franchise consultants, which could be a great way to talk to somebody who many times they've been business owner, franchisor, they've been in the industry for a long time. They know the brands that are out there. They're going to also ask you some of those things that you would ask yourself, like, where's your passion? What industry really piques your interest? Maybe even do an evaluation of like a Zoracle type profile or other personality type assessments to align you with the brands they think would be a good fit. And so they're still casting a wide net and then helping you to narrow down to what opportunities are best going to meet your needs. And then also doing a mini financial for personal financial statement to help you to say, okay, I know you really, really like this, but I'm not sure if you quite have the funds for this. Or, hey, I understand that you really want to invest in this. You have the funds to do something maybe at even a different level if that were to be an area that you would so choose. But franchise consultants can be an awesome path, and somebody who's really on your side, walking you through that process. And when you do start talking and they start introducing you to different companies, they're a good sounding board to then come back to and speak with, and just tell, really just what are the pluses and the minuses. And there's going to be so many questions that you as a potential franchise about the process, about what is to come, different, barriers to either that business, employment, the hurdles that they're going to be facing, and having a franchise consultant there can definitely help you walk through those different things.
Wow, it's huge. When you sometimes start this journey, you may be overwhelmed at what you think is a mountain of information. And though there's a lot to consider out there, you've just mentioned like 4 huge ways that you can start that journey, right? Online content essentially is where we're at now, basically, but take that into the kind of organization centered on franchising, the International Franchise Association, right? And go see that information. Go see the brands who also put on trade shows and expos and things like that in a city near you. And then maybe a very personal one-on-one relationship with the franchise consultant can help too. Just start to really, really get through all this information that will eventually help you there, right? And all of those paths, right, will eventually lead us, right, to now a journey that we start with the brand itself, right? We've gotten to that point where, we've given somebody our phone number. They have talked to us. We've actually picked up a phone from some 402 number in the middle of the country, talked to a guy who wants to schedule time with us. And you know what? All right, let's do it. Let's put some time on the calendar. Let's talk to this guy and see what he's got, right? What does that kind of do for us, right? Well, I think it can really help us understand, and evaluate this franchise opportunity. That's what you're doing the whole time. But now you have a live person over there trained to help you see clearly what this concept is and how it can work for you, right? So this is what we do, right, on our side of the screens out here. And as we're sharing this with candidates who have yet to talk to us or brands they're more interested in, Jerod, what do we need to think of when starting that journey with the franchisor? What are some things we really need to dive into to understand if this is going to be a fit for us?
Yeah. Well, I would say one of the some of the very first questions that we always get is, how am I going to find the customers? How am I going to find the employees? And what separates you from everybody else? Those are kind of like your top 3 questions that we get from everybody. And I think those are great questions. And all of those things are going to help you through that evaluation of that specific opportunity. But the first thing that usually will come up is like the business model itself, right? Is it service related? Is it product related? Is it a storefront type opportunity? Is it food related? Are we selling coffee? Is it a food truck? Like, there are a lot of different things that are out there, and a lot of different business models that you could be investing in within your franchise. So if, for example, you're a little bit more inward, you don't want to be the face, you really don't want to manage a lot of people, and I mentioned this earlier, then perhaps a service related business where you're going to be hiring dozens and then eventually tens of dozens of people, that may not be the best business model, right, for you. But within that business model, even if it is a coffee shop, right? Maybe you don't have to be the face, but you're still most really going to have to deal with people. And there's very few business models out there where you can eliminate the personal aspect out of it and the people out of it. So then you're looking at how are you generating, revenue? Is it again service-based revenue? Is it product-based? How are you delivering those services? Is it someone coming to your door? Perhaps somebody coming to you? Is it a haircut in which you are hiring, professionals who are going to be cutting your hair? Is it an accounting franchise to where you have a very small group of professional accountants that are doing CPA work for you? Either way, you're looking at it, you're saying, can I see myself in that position? Can I see myself overseeing those kind of people, running that kind of business? Also, is this a business model that can scale? Can it expand? There's many, many different businesses that will hit a ceiling. And the only way you can expand is by starting another location. Right. Whereas, for example, at a place at home, there's really no roof. There's no limit to how much service that you can generate, how much more market share that you can take. And with a growing senior population, on top of that, just the exponential potential for you to be able to grow. That could be a business model that really really could pique your interest. But once you've kind of decided on the business model, maybe now you've broken it down, you're looking at multiple brands within the same type of business, same industry, doing very similar services, then you start looking a little bit deeper. Okay, what kind of support am I going to be getting? Mm-hmm. Right? Does the franchisor hand you a book of CDs? I don't even know if people really, have CD players anymore, but, I most certainly have seen franchises where they'll hand you over, a set of CDs or DVDs and say, okay, here's your manual. This is along with it. Go, good luck, right? Or perhaps you're going to really be on some, with a group that's going to help you step by step through the onboarding process, through the launch process, the post-launch process, the marketing assistance, right? Really being hand in hand with you through being able to grow and how you're going to be able to get out into the market. So you're going to want to find what level of support. I would say that the more support you get is going to be more, coinciding usually with the franchise fee that you're going to be paying. Perhaps your budget doesn't allow you to go with a group that is going to be that hands-on with you. But you can go get that DVD set and pay, a fraction of the cost and do it all yourself. Maybe that's right for you as well. And then ultimately, where we had talked about before is, what is that competitive edge? Why is it unique? What is it different? Do you have a different offering? Do you have a different technology? Is it perhaps the way that you're managing the business? How are you implementing in, more type of either technological or managerial, steps to be able to better run that business and do it more efficiently? So what kind of competitive edges there may be. And then also throughout this process, you're really looking at not only talking to somebody like Mitch, who's going to be great and give you a lot of great information, but sometimes you're like, you know what, I just want to hear it from the horse's mouth, right? I want to talk to somebody who has been there, done that. And that's where franchisee validation comes in. So I would highly recommend anybody who's evaluating similar brands to get on the phone, speak with somebody like Mitch. But before making any kind of determination, make sure that you're talking to other franchisees in that brand to make sure that everything as Mitch is telling you is as great, from the franchisee's perspective as it is from the person who is helping to award you a franchise, right? And then lastly, we are huge proponents of discovery days. We are even bigger proponents of having discovery days in person. We want to sit across from the table from somebody, face to face, talk with them, understand them as people, question as to what they and why they are a good part and why they feel like they're going to be successful in this business. But shake their hand, put a face to that name at the discovery day, I think is super important too.
Yeah, I mean, huge ways to get our heads around what is valuable for us in this journey when we're talking to those brands, right? Again, the online knowledge base that expands on these ideas is very robust and super helpful. Use our website, our blog, placeatHomefranchise.com. Use this conversation here to help you get started to see all this stuff and really, sharpen your tool set to get a lot of information out of great brands to find if it's right for you, right? And then, Jerod, with all of this in mind, I want to end this conversation as we hit about 2 minutes left in our call today, about how do we know when we're there, right? Does someone essentially just like start shining in the distance saying you have arrived, you've given a certificate? Do you get a text message that said, hey, this is the right one? What can you help us look for when maybe the right fit is right in front of us?
Well, when you've gone through this whole process, which we just walked you through, all the way down to sitting across the table from somebody, I think both sides of the table at that point, really, if they've both done their job right, will know, hey, is this a good fit? And a lot of times, even when we are, halfway through this process, talking to somebody that is a shining example of our values, they're in line with our brand, as well as very passionate about helping people. We're like, oh yeah, they are a fit. But let's finish this process. Let's make sure, because just because you love people and just because you're in line with our values does not necessarily mean you can be a good business owner. So again, when you've gone through this process, you're looking at yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, how does it complement, and how is the franchisor going to complement you in this business process? If you are that sales heavy person, are they going to be able to help me thrive and maybe fill the gaps on an area either administratively that I'm not as strong at, or financially that I'm not as strong with? Do they have the software and technology, as I mentioned to you before, that are going to help streamline my business and help it to grow? And ultimately, are the people, are the franchisees, the founders, are the stories that they're telling me, are the reasons why they are a part of this group in line with what I have and the stories that I have? Then absolutely, I think that you put those things together, and in our case, we would call it signing the flag. But before you leave, we would be saying, we would like to award you this territory, and we would be happy and proud if you would sign this flag saying that you were showing home, and then moving on to finally signing a franchise agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sometimes the answer is just straight up. When you know, and there's a fit element. There's multiple people coming together with this kind of gut response that says we're excited about what's to come, right? And that's just it. If everybody's done their job right, if everybody spent this time in their due diligence process to surface up the information and level set their experiences with everybody, then it will feel like that gut reaction, right? And that's a great place to start, a franchisee-franchisor relationship. You have a gut response to them, and you just feel like you need to follow them. Your guts are connected. All right, that's a good place to be. And ideally, this is a lot of fun, and it starts really the fun part of this whole journey, which is running the business, growing with your brands, contributing to it, being an ambassador for them, and helping that brand bring you even great partners in your market or abroad that can help your business grow too. That's years of fun ahead of us, so long as we've come to this place that we've decided buying a franchise is right for us. We have the know-how on what information we need, how to get it, how to use it, and then our antenna are up when we get that chance to feel like we're a fit for that brand. And when it comes to us and someone is shining in the distance saying you've arrived, you have that courage and excitement to say, yes, let's go. Let's move forward in franchise ownership. Right? Just so excited to have this in front of everybody here on the call. I want to thank you as we wrap up today for doing what Jerod said in the beginning, is getting to this point where buying a business, starting a business, becoming an entrepreneur is where your life needs to go. And now what? Right? You join calls like this and gain information from folks who have done it, folks who have helped other people just like you go through that process. Hope this was valuable. And if you'd like more information about this, please search our website, aplaceathomefranchise.com, in the blog section for a blog with this very same title. And you can see even more information about how to get started on buying a franchise and how to find the right fit. Right, Jerod, I want to thank you for all of your time and your expertise today.
Oh man, it's been great. And also, quick shout out, saw Natalie Watts threw a comment out there about Place at Home as being the perfect fit for her, and she most certainly is a perfect fit for us as well. And congratulations on grand opening of your second location just about a week ago. So that was fantastic. And then Adam Johnson, he got the text message.
That's right.
How he knew.
It can happen. It does happen. Hey, Adam, you found it. That's a good one.
Yep. Awesome. Well, no, Mitch, I had a good time here today. Glad I could share some insights from the mind of an entrepreneur and franchisor myself, and hope anybody out there who is watching most certainly can find some value as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for it. And thanks everyone joining the call today. Join me and a brand strategy specialist, Anna Krieger, next week for a great conversation on all things franchising and senior care. We're excited to see you guys. But signing off for A Place at Home, me, Mitch Benson, the Franchise Development Manager. Thanks you for being here. And Jerod, thank you, and see you later.
Thank you.